Hey, what's up everybody? It's Jack. Welcome back. And in this video, I wanted to talk about this submachine gun and its funny name. But even though the Weevil has quite a funny name, it really is an evil submachine gun if used properly. And in what it's supposed to do and the distance that it covers, it can, as you can see in this gameplay, it does some work. And this is actually, I believe, my first full gameplay with it. I believe I used it very briefly previously, but not in a full gameplay, if I remember correctly. And I had to make a video talking about this gun, even though it's not the big daddy submachine gun of the entire game, but it does have some unique attributes. It's basically like the P90 of this game, but out of all the submachine guns, I would probably say that this one is, so far with my experience, it's pretty much the most balanced, because it doesn't fire too fast, it doesn't fire too slow, it doesn't have ridiculous distance, even though all the submachine guns in this game have ridiculous distance because of the way it's built. I have no doubt that they're going to get nerfed, or the assault rifles might just get buffed. But with that being said, out of all the submachine guns I've tried with this game, overall this one is probably the most balanced, but it is still an evil gun. And no, not just because it's called the Weevil, the Weevil, but it is just if you're in distances like these that you're seeing in the gameplay right now, it is pretty deadly. And the iron sights are really good. The iron sights actually remind me of the MSMC or the PDW from Black Ops 2. And one thing I have to give to Treyarch, though, in my opinion, the iron sights for just about every single weapon that I've used so far in this game are very usable. And that's definitely a good thing, because if you can use the iron sights, you might as well use that extra point for something else from pick 10. So, which is good. The attachments is still something that is being experimented with. Because the way they've done the attachments and the way they have the guns program this time is a little bit different, because I think they've eliminated frame rounding, if I remember correctly, if they talked about that way back when. So it's a little bit different. There's a lot of similarities because it is COD after all, but there are differences to the way the attachments work this time around. For instance, the suppressor is not worth using at all, because for some weapons it takes like half of the distance away, which is pretty ridiculous. So, you know, and in team-based games, I like to run the suppressor, because I usually find myself going up against a full squad, but can't do that in this game. And another, speaking of team-based games, I am going through quite a transition right now, because number one, I'm running into a full squad, and number two, there are a lot of head glitching spots on these maps, and these maps are pretty good in size, even though you can get from point A to point B pretty quick. I am basically going through a transition because there's head glitch after head glitch, and I will openly admit that I have not fully figured out, in terms of team-based games, how to properly and effectively rush 100% yet. I have the gameplays where I shine, but I find myself struggling a lot of times. In free-for-all, I still do very well, but in team-based games, I'm definitely struggling more than I have in the past. So it's just another transition. They throw this kind of stuff at us every year, so we just have to adapt. You know, I even found myself raging, which is something that doesn't happen very often. But I actually found myself raging, you know, and I even talked to one of the guys that's in the Pwn Stars clan. I'm like, dude, I'm like, are you having trouble in this and that? And you know, he basically said, hey, stream and I'll watch you sometime and I'll tell you what you're doing wrong. But as the days goes on, day by day, I get a little bit better, and I try to figure out what I'm doing wrong. And if you're a rusher, it's there's definitely another learning curve to go through, but I'm sure within due time it's going to be easy. You know, in Black Ops 2, I remember having a similar problem, but you know, in due time things will get better. So for any rushers out there that are going through this ridiculousness, basically, I feel your pain, because In the previous games, you know, it was pretty easy to rush. Advanced Warfare won't count, but let's say Ghosts and Black Ops 2, you could rush effectively. But when Black Ops 2 came out, a lot of people remember saying that the learning curve in the game was different. It was a little bit hard. It was a steep learning curve, so a lot of people had to make adjustments. But once they did, everything was fine and dandy. Everything was fun. Everything was doable. So I think we just have to go through this again, and with the movements as well, and how these maps are built because of the movements. So basically, it's just about making that transition, and us rushers, we have to go through that all the time. So every year, pretty much, more or less. So it's just another learning curve that Treyarch is throwing at us. But with that being said, though, the game is still addictive. The game is still fun, and if you have at least another person on your team that has a decent idea of what they're doing, then you're gonna have fun. As far as free for all is concerned, for anybody that rushes and that loves free for all, it's a good place to start. It's a good place to get your feet wet. It's not crazy hectic, and it's a little bit more balanced in terms of the learning curve, because it's still pretty much the same. Some of the maps are a little bit too big, but with that being said, you know, it's when you learn the movements and you learn how to wall run from point A to point B, you can get to places pretty quick. Not as fast as Advanced Warfare, obviously, but so there's a balance there. Thank God. But yeah, that's it. I wanted to talk about the Evil Weevil briefly, and my transition with what I've been going through with this game. So because I'm sure a lot of people are out there going through it as well. So anyway, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the gameplay, and if you liked the video, let me know, and if you don't, let me know what I could do to make it better. I'll catch you guys on the next one.